So I'm glad to see him in the defense. Now, I guarantee you things are going to change.
Well, I mean, his blanket statement, his creed he lives by.
I know is try to get along with everybody, but if they don't, kill them.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty good way to be as far as a defense secretary.
I'm in your country for a reason. I have weapons, but I'm not going to use them. But
Yeah.
if you mess with us,
We're going to kill you. And that's, I mean, a lot of people don't think that's a good way for the military to be, but why have a military if you're going to be passive?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sense in it. You might as well just disband it. All right, I'll shut up. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, I'm going to go over Mylabsplus, and I did it for my math 155, and I asked, I said, how many people have never been on math? And about half the class said they've never been on Mylabsplus, because some students come in straight off the street. And when I say straight off the street, in other words, they didn't take a Math 101, they didn't take a Math 102, or whatever precedes this course, or whatever. And some people are right out of high school and they've never taken it. So just a show of hands, how many have used Mylabsplus before? Raise your hands high so I can see. Okay, so there's some people in here that have never used it. Some people have used Alex, which is a variation of this, because I'll be honest with you, Mylabsplus, my math lab, has been around since 2000. So all of the knockoffs or all of the other reinforcement software packages or reinforcement internet sites or whatever you want to call them have spawned off of Mylabsplus. And some of them are real good and some of them suck. The WebAssign, it sucks, and that's what our calculus classes have to use. But Mylabsplus is probably one of the best ones there are. Of course, it's MyMathLab or Mylabsplus. So for those of you that's had Alex, it will work probably better than Alex. You probably will think, how many of you have used Alex? See, that's the people who haven't used Mylabsplus. One of the reasons that I disagree with using Alex is because, one, it is a program to use for self-study, independent study, meaning you can go through two courses in one semester if you have that retention and remember. And another reason I don't believe in using it is because if the Arts and Sciences division is using Mylabsplus, that's, to me, is what the others should be using, because you're bridging into the Arts and Sciences division. So I don't know, maybe they can go together. I don't know if they can go together or not. I just seen, from what I've seen of Alex, it's a little bit different from Mylabsplus. But to make a long story short, we're going to get into it today, and I'm going to show you the ins and outs, and I'm going to show you what's important and what you should do if you want to do this and if you want to do that. So, first thing you do is call up. Now, I've already got 3 emails today. tctc.mylabsplus.com. Now, I want everybody to write that down, because I don't know where y'all go, but I've got 3 emails today. I need to know the course ID. They're not going to the right site. They're going to Pearson, or they're going to mylabsplus.com. You don't need a course ID, okay? The course ID is for the old way that we used to do it with my math lab. The teacher, so like me, I would use Mylabsplus with my Math 110 class, but Mohammed Gabadi may not use Math 110, Mylabs with his 110. So I would use it, and I would give you a course ID, because I would make the class. The difference in Mylabsplus versus my math lab is Mylabsplus, the whole department is using it, and the school puts you into the class, and you just have to put in an access code to tell Mylabsplus that you paid for the access code and you have a right to be in that class. It's like buying a book, all right, or just a proof of purchase. The whole point is you don't need a course ID. All you need is an access code. And if you go to this site, it's going to ask you to register, or it's going to ask you to type in your username and password. Now, this happened with Mr. Harvell yesterday. He couldn't get in. He couldn't get in. He couldn't get in. And I said, well, let's see what happens when you type it in. And I wanted to see here, and we were right here. And I typed in his username, which was J. Harvell. And then I typed in his password, which was some things of letters and symbols, and it didn't work. And then I said, well, let's try your T number, because it goes back to your original password, which is your T number. So if you've changed, they really don't want you to change your password, because you're supposed to remember your T number like your Social Security number, and it's the one thing that you won't forget. When you change it to Donald Duck or Blue Bean or whatever y'all change it to, and then you stay out a semester or two, and then you come back, what are you going to do? You're going to forget the password, but you're not going to forget your T number. So they try to leave it as your T number, and they really don't want you to change it. They say you can change it, but if you leave it as your T number, it will bounce back to your T number when they put you back into the course. Mr. Harvell was out for how many semesters? 5 years, okay? He came back in, and he used his old password, or a password that he changed to, but when they reloaded him into the system from 5 years ago, it used his T number as the password. So I typed in his T number, and everything worked fine. So you're going to type in your password, your username without the TCTC, and your password, which is my T number. You're going to hit sign in, and then it's going to come to this. With Mr. Harvell, he had 2 classes, 103 and 110. So you click on 110, and then at this point, it's going to ask you trial period, access code, or something else. There's 3 options. I can't remember. Buy now, one of the 2. Yeah, that's it. Buy now. Okay, now those are the 3 options. One is for the trial period, and it'll say trial period, 14 days. And if you are one of those people that's waiting for money, whether it be a scholarship or whether it be financial aid or whether it be a check from Michigan, whatever the case may be, you go ahead and do that, because after Monday or Tuesday of next week, I'm going to be doing math. And I don't want to hear that excuse, well, I'm waiting on this and I'm waiting on that. So if you know that you're going to be getting a check soon, go ahead and do the. Now, the only thing bad about that is if you let the 14-day trial period go over, then Course Compass is going to deactivate it, and then you're going to go in and type in the access code, and guess what? It's not going to work. So I think, somebody tell me if I'm right, but every day when you log in and click on the class, doesn't it ask you that when you're on the trial period? Doesn't it ask you every time to type in access code? Or you keep using the trial period? Does it do that? Okay, well, I know right before the cutoff date, it's going to ask you for an access code if you're on the trial period. Okay, you need to have that access code ready, because if they ask you on the 14th or 13th day and you don't put the access code in, then it's going to cut you off, and then you're going to have to call Course Compass, and you're going, or Mylabsplus or my math lab, whichever. You're going to call them and say, my 14-day trial period ran out. I need to reactivate because I have my access code. And they'll probably ask for your access code on the phone and fix everything there. Or they might reactivate you and tell you to go back online and punch in your access code. Okay, that's if you use the 14-day trial period. If you want the access code, if you have your access code with your book, you hit access code and type it in. If you want to buy it online, then you say access code buy now, or buy now, and you type in your debit card or your credit card, and then they let you go on in. Okay, so that's what it's going to ask you for there. There is no course ID. That's in another world, another school. Okay. Now, once you get logged on, and once you get paid for, and once you get 14-day trial period, you're going to see this. Now it's pretty self-explanatory. Everything works on the left-hand side. The calendar, when I start putting dates and tests and homework up, the calendar will have the hyperlink to whatever's due. If I put a Unit 1 test up today, which is, what's today? 12th, and I make it due on the 19th, then there'll be a hyperlink on the 12th, and there'll be a chapter blah 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 test due on the 19th, and you can click on the 12th. There'll be a link for the blah 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 test, and you click on it, and you go through and take the test. Or you can go to quizzes and tests. That's what that's for, and pull up quizzes and tests, and it'll pull it up right here. All right. If, for instance, you get a white screen, just like, see this, without, just say you get this and it says quizzes and tests up here, but it doesn't have anything, that means that your browser is wrong, or that your cookies aren't right, or that your plugins aren't right. So you need to go back to the original page and go down. Well, it's not on here. It's somewhere on here, course home. Let's see if that's it. There it is. Go away. Whatever. And go down here, browser check. Do the browser check to make sure everything's good. Okay? If that ain't it, then you need to call them and check out that web page that I sent you and read it, because I can't help you with that, because your individual computer at home has its own issues, your malware, your security software. You need to disable that and check that with that website and see if everything's running correctly. If not, you go to up here, go to the question mark and help and support, and they'll give you a number that you can call, and that's it. That's the first homework. That's the number one button. Now I know it's terrible for me to say this, but homework is for homework. And a lot of you say, why did you have to say that? Well, there's some people that can't find their homework. They'll call me up, or they'll email me or text me and say, I can't find the assignments. Why is that? Because they're on Blackboard. Have I said anything to y'all about Blackboard? I don't use Blackboard. There's no need for me to use Blackboard, because this is technically Blackboard for your math class. All right? I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. If I am using a math program that already does everything, why would I use Blackboard? Okay? I know. I'll do all your grades in Mylabsplus, and then after all the grades are in there, I'll take all the grades and export them to Blackboard. That's extra work. Why would I do that? So I don't use Blackboard. And what's happening is people are going, and just because their other classes are using Blackboard, they just assume that everybody's supposed to use Blackboard. Well, some teachers don't, and I don't, okay, because it's all in here. So homework is where you find the homework, and quizzes and tests is where you find the quizzes and tests. Now, there are some generic things that are on, like right here, quizzes and tests. There's none of my tests on there. These are all generic tests. They come with the program, they come with the website, they come with the book. I don't have anything to do with these, okay? The ones that you're going to see me have, they're going to be on the top. They're going to look different. They're going to say Hubert's Unit 1 test, Hubert's Unit 2 test, or something like that. You'll see them up here. They'll either be up here, or they'll be right here in here over this sample test and quizzes. Now, what do you do with the sample test and quizzes? I just say practice. Just see what an online test is like. You can hit this post test right here and start test, and you can see what taking a test online is like. Does it count? No. The things that come with the program are only for your benefit. They are not going to count against you. They're not going to count for your grade numerically. But will they help your grade? Yes. In the long run, if you do some of these extra problems and you do some of these tests to get used to taking the test, it may not help you numerically, but it will help you as far as getting a high grade on the test because you're practicing extra problems and you're practicing the format of the test. So the generic homework and the generic test, the ones that are on there, I'll show you the generic homework in just a minute. They are for extra practice and they are for you to get used to doing things online. Okay? Generic test, generic homework. The generic homework is called study plan. The way that you get to it is you go to chapter contents. You pick a chapter. Which chapter do we start on in this class? Anybody got a syllabus or outline? Okay. Is it 1? I'm going to go to chapter 2 because 1 I think is kind of like a review. All right, and you pick the section 2.1. Over to the right, you got 3 things, 3 links. The video presentation, which gives you a video rundown of what you're going to be doing in 2.1, and a multimedia text. That's the same thing as the ebook. I mean, same thing as the book. Sorry, it's called e-text. You click on that, and those of you that have a book and it's opened up, you can turn it to page 86, and page 86 will look exactly like this. And that's your book online. See? Looks just like that in your book. Now here's where people say, well, do I need a book? No, because once you get online, you have the book. That's why I tell students they can buy an old book, they can buy a new book, they can share a book, they can use an old book, they can borrow a book, doesn't matter, because you have the new book online. How can you print it out? Go to the print button, and it'll ask you to print 1 to 10 pages. They try to make the lessons within 10 pages, so some of the lessons will just be 3 pages, some of them will be 5, some of them will be 8, some will be 10. But I don't think any of them are more than 10, and if they are more than 10, like 11 pages, they'll have 1 to 11 pages, so you can print out everything. Put 3 holes in it, put it in your notebook. Instead of carrying around a book, you're only carrying around the sections. So that's the way you can print out the book. We don't go over every section, so you don't print out the whole book. That's why the outline is so important. You take the outline, you look and see what sections we're going to cover for Unit 1. You go to those sections, you print out those sections, put 3 holes in them, put them in your book. You're ready for the Unit 1 test. You're ready to bring your book to class for the Unit 1 test. Then in Unit 2, you pick out the sections, you print them out, you put them on in your book, you got Unit 2 ready. So it's a little bit of printing and a little bit of work, but you don't have to carry around the book all the time. And you don't have to buy another book. The book and the access code together is, I'm going to say $150. But if you get the access code online, you're talking about maybe $100 or $90. There's about a $50 to $60 savings between the book and the access code versus just the access code, and you get the book online. Sorry, I forgot to turn it off. So that's a $50 savings. That's why I tell students not to open their book until after we've had this discussion the second day of class, because some people can save $50 just by not using the book and just getting the access code. Okay? So that's how you print out your book. Now the extra homework is called study plan right here. Each section has a study plan. Let me explain to you how we set up these courses, and then you'll understand why I tell students to do the study plan if you want extra problems. Each teacher at Tri-County Tech, each math teacher, is in charge of 2 or 3 courses. I'm in charge of Math 110, 111, and 122, which we never use. And the way that the I'm called the lead instructor for Math 110 and 111 and 122. The lead instructor goes in and sets up whenever the book is changed or whenever we get a new book, the lead instructor has to go in and configure the homework in the Mylabsplus. So we go to the study plan and we pull, there may be 60 problems in the study plan. Well, our administrators don't want us to give more than 25 homework questions because that's too much. So we have to pull out 25 of the questions that we think are important out of the 60 that's available. So if I pull out 25 of the 60 that's available, how many are left that you can work on? 35. And that's 35 extra problems that you can work on. The study plan is generic. It's just like the generic test. They're there if you want to work them. If you don't, that's fine. They don't hurt you. They don't help you as far as a numerical grade. But they do help you as far as exposure to extra problems. So the study plan is a way that you can do extra problems and not be penalized if you get them wrong. All it will do is help you. Okay, so that's the study plan. And you click on it, and it looks like that. And see, in your homework in 2.1, you may not have all of these. You may just have some of them because we pulled out what we thought was important. Okay, everybody understand where your homework comes from now? It comes from the study plan. So when I pull up the 2.1 homework, main menu, homework, 2.1, I don't know. I might have pulled in all of them. It looks like I did. Now that's the one that I pulled in all of them. But you might see one or two in there in the study plan that you haven't seen because I may not have pulled in every single one of them. You'll see the difference when you see one with like 50 questions in the study plan and there's like 10 questions in the homework. Homework is for grade. Study plan is generic. The test, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, test, that's for grade. The generic tests, which are all those tests on the bottom, those are generic. Those do not count for a grade. Because I always get that question, what are these tests that are already there? What is this study plan? Well, I've gone into that because I get those emails and I get those texts. So you just need to worry, if you're just worried about the grade and you're not worried about extra stuff, then you just worry about my unit test and you worry about my homework. My homework is already loaded. There it is. Orientation, make sure you do that. Intermediate algebra review, which will start on either the last part of the class today or Tuesday when y'all come back. We'll start on this right here. So y'all can go ahead and start working on that homework if you want to. This is stuff that you already should know. If you took 102 and you studied all of 102 and your teacher went through all of 102, then you should be able to do this material right here. Okay? And just click on that. And then the reason I'm clicking on it is I want to show you about the homework when you have a homework. When you have homework. One of the reasons we decided using this a long time ago was because of the resources that are available if you get stuck. Now, there are some colleges, in fact, Tri-County Tech used to be a big independent study, comprehensive studies division. In other words, when I was department head, we had several rooms with the little desk cubicles and a computer, and people worked on their own and they used the study plan and they did all those problems, and when they got through, they took a test. And that's when we used my math lab a long time ago, and we had several rooms that were not lecture. But around 2000, we started turning that around and having more lectures versus independent study because we started getting more high school students not being able to do algebra. I don't know, we just started getting more students. So we had to start doing lectures, and we still had independent studies, but now the lectures are bigger. Well, they were when I was department head. The lectures got bigger. We had more sections of lectures and only 1 or 2 sections of independent study because people wanted the lectures versus the independent study. So we had to change the way we did this, and we did a little bit, but all of them have this. And that's the help and resources. The whole purpose behind those resources is not to take the place of the instructor. The whole purpose of this, let's see, except for Ask My Instructor, the whole purpose of these is to actually help you get over the hump whenever you're doing homework. Have you ever been doing homework and you get to number 10 and you can't get past number 10 and there's like 5 more to do for homework? Well, that's what these are for. They're trying to get you over the hump when you're doing it at home. It's not to, in fact, this program opens me up to where I can teach more, 8 to 11 days more than if I was to give y'all stuff in class. So this helps more than it hinders. So I'm trying to find one that has all of the, I don't know why, let's see. I'm trying to find one that has all of the question help. There we go. All right, so help me solve this. Help me solve this is like a guided tutorial. And a guided learning style helps a lot of people, especially if they've never seen the material before. Is there anybody in here that has not had 102? Okay, we have 2 people, 3 people, 4 people that hasn't had 102. So we might do complete and square, and they have no idea how to do complete and square. They've never seen it before, not even in Algebra 2 in high school. If you've never seen a concept before, then the Help Me Solve This is probably what you need. Help Me Solve This is like going into a tutorial lab and sitting down with a tutor, and let's say you want to learn how to factor. And the teacher says, okay, what is, and the tutor sits down beside you and says, what is factoring? And you say, I don't know. And then he says, she says, it's breaking up a term into its parts. And then you say, okay. And then he says, or she says, 54 is equal to 6 times 9. And then you say, okay. And then they say, that's factoring. And you break up x squared plus 4x plus 4 into x plus 2 times x plus 2. And they are explaining and asking questions as they are what? As they are tutoring. That's called a guided tutorial. I'm a guided lecturer. I do not present. X squared plus 4x plus 4, it gives you x plus 2 times x plus 2, or it gives you x plus 2 squared. Next problem. I'm not a presenter. I'm a guided lecturer. I do the problem, and then in between the problem, I ask you, which y'all don't answer, but I ask you questions, and y'all sit there like a tit on a bull. Y'all just sit there like Patrick Starfish. And don't they? Don't they? You've been in my class. Who else has been in my class? Mr. Stricker, don't they? Most of the time, see, like y'all are doing right now. No expression whatsoever. It's going to be a long class, isn't it? It's going to last forever because y'all will not talk. But anyway, I try to get people to interact, and that's called a guided lecture. So guided tutorial, guided lecture, help me solve this. If you are seeing something for the first time, then chances are you want to use that. When does it get on your nerves? Well, if you know the material and you just need some brushing up, then you don't want to use Help Me Solve This, because then you're going to get frustrated with all the questions. So what do you use when you don't want to deal with the questions? Well, if you've seen the material before and you don't want to deal with the questions, then you click on Help Me or View an Example. Now the difference, here's the difference. Help me solve this. Okay, give a group of terms, continue. It asks you a what? It asks you several questions. That's the guided tutorial. The View an Example don't ask you anything. It just presents. Continue, continue, continue. It doesn't ask you any questions. So the difference between the guided tutorial or the guided learning style and the blunt learning style is the exposure to the material. If you've never been exposed to completing the square, you need to use the guided tutorial. If you know how to use completing the square, but it's been 50 years or 100 years or 2 years or 6 months, and you just need some brushing up, then you would use the View an Example. You see the difference between the two, and that's the different learning style.
Do you think those options definitely affect the
No, some teachers do that, but
yeah, I was thinking like some people might have to each
yeah, they need a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something. But anyway, they need a life, because the whole point of doing problems is to what? To learn. Why penalize somebody while you're trying to learn? I don't understand that concept. Just like I know some teachers that cut off to 3 times, and if you don't get the problem in 3 times, USOL, it's wrong. I don't understand that. I guess I'm just one of these teachers that want everybody to learn. I don't want to penalize you for trying to learn. I don't understand that whole, to me, you can't learn. It'd be just like me giving you a piano lesson, and if you can't get this song right, if you can't get the notes right the 3rd time, you just need to quit. I mean, how do you learn how to play the piano if you don't do it over and over and over? Mathematics is repetitious learning. You have to do it over and over and over. What happens if you stay out a semester of math? What happens?
Lose it.
You get rusty. You lose it. Yep, I'm going to take points off. These people need a life. But anyway, the next one, animation. Now, there's two types of visual learning on this thing. There's the video, which has a teacher on there doing the video, and then there's a animation, which is a graphic tutorial. Both of them are the same thing. One is animated, meaning using computer animation, making x squared turn into x plus 2. Okay. The other one is a teacher writing it on the board, same thing with a voice. Okay. So both of them have voices. One of them is a person, the other one is a computer. So you look at the graphic tutorial. I'm going to let you listen to it. And that's what. And that's it. And that's a graphic tutorial. Again, a video, they might have a person, one of the teachers that write the program or write the book, they'll get up there and have a board and they'll do it on a whiteboard or a board like mine that just doesn't show the pencil, it just shows the marks. The whole point is this is a visual learner. This is for a person. Most of your guys, most of you males are visual learners. That's why they put bikes together and they don't need the instructions. They look at the picture and there's spare parts left. And Johnny goes ride the bicycle and he ends up in the ditch because they didn't use all the parts. Guys sometimes are visual learners. I don't know why that is. I don't know. It may have the way you were brought up. I don't know. There are some women that are, some females, women, ladies that are visual learners. So that's what a visual learner wants to see. They want to see it on the board. Okay, so again, it's trying to get you over the hump of homework. It's not trying to take the place of the instructor. I've got a button for that. Okay, so that's your visual learners. But what about you readers and people that read like 5 books in a day? That's the textbook right here. Click on that and it takes you to the textbook, exactly where the problem or where the material is in the textbook. So you can just sit there and read. And then after you get through reading, you can go back to the problem and try it out. What if you are a conventional person and you like to do things the old way? Well, you hit print the homework assignment, print it out. It'll print out several sheets. You take it home, you work on it like regular homework, and then you go back into the computer and type in the answers. Now, this is a double-edged sword. If you're one of these people that like to play around with stuff all the time, okay, I print this out. I get 5 or 6 sheets, put them in my notebook. I'll do them when I go home. But you go on here and you place some more on the homework. What'll happen? The questions will regenerate, and the questions that you have on the paper are not going to match the ones that you regenerate. Okay? So for those people that want to do it the conventional way, print out the homework. Go on number 1 on each of the homeworks for the outline. Go by the outline. Whatever Unit 1 says you're going to do, go over it, print it out, put it in your notebook, and don't go back on to the homework until you're ready to type in the answers. Because if you go on the homework and you play around with the homework, it's going to mess up the questions. You might as well throw your homework away because the questions are not going to be the same, the ones that you mess around with. Okay? Does everybody see what I'm saying? So, yeah. I do, Hubert. Okay, thank you, class. Appreciate the interaction. Always makes good for the class to interact like y'all are interacting. It helps class go by faster. Yeah, it does. I know, it does. All right. Ask me, so let's say you've gone through the visual, you've gone through all the avenues, and you still have no clue. Well, then this is what you do. You send me the message, you send me the problem, and even if you want to put a message, I am a failure. Okay? I can't even spell failure. I am a failure. Now, the reason I do that is so you'll see that it comes in real time. Boom, there it is. It's already there. I am a failure. And I take that guy and I bring him over here and put him in the folder. So Tuesday, when you come to class, guess what? I might have 5 or 6 homework questions in that folder, and I will go over those homework questions before I start going over new material. Squeaky door gets what? Grease, or OIL, huh? WD-40, yeah. Squeaky door gets WD-40. If you don't send me questions, what am I going to assume? You know it, and I'm going to go on to 2.2. Okay, so if you want interaction, you want me to answer questions, and this is one of the best things in the world, because some students cannot stand to what? Ask questions, because they're scared there's going to be that one jerk in the classroom that's going to say something. I'll tell you the story. I like to tell stories. But when I was, the second semester I was teaching in Oconee 218, which is, if you come off the stairwell at the women's restroom, you come down, and it's the second room on the left, I think, 216 or 218. And I was teaching in there, and I had about 5 or 6 over here and about 10 over here, and there was about 6 Bubbas and Bubettes up here from Westminster, West Oakway. We got the FFA, and they had a chaw tobacco in their mouth. The women did too. They were pretty rough, okay? They were sitting up here, about 6 of them. There was 3 girls, or 4 guys and 2 girls. And they sat right here. And normal people, pretty normal people, made up this side and this side. And then I had 2 Barbies that sat in the back. The Barbies were very frustrating, because all they would do was sit back there, check each other's makeup, and look at each other in their little compacts, and talk about going to the mall and partying. That's what they did. They didn't pay attention to class whatsoever. Somebody could have come in with a shotgun and they wouldn't even know. I mean, they were all in their little world on the back row, right near the door. Well, the door was in the front. Back near there was an overhead projector on a cart back there. That's where they sat. And they just carried, but they wasn't loud, so they didn't distract. They just was in their own little world. They both failed the class because they didn't do anything. But the whole point was, one day I was going over some problems, and I asked the students, I said, so what is the answer to this question? And one of the Bubettes spoke up and said, 4. And the answer was like 7. It was order of operations or something like that. And I said, no, I understand how you got that. And right after I said, I know how you got that, you ever had one of those instances where the whole room gets real quiet, and then you say something and everybody hears it? You ever had one of those? Okay, well, y'all don't want to tell me you did anyway. But anyway, there was this moment where the class got totally quiet, and the Barbies were in the back talking about going to the mall or whatever, and she said, that's so stupid. And all the Bubette heard was stupid. So the timing was perfect. In other words, I said, no, that's not exactly right. And it got quiet, and then all I heard was stupid coming out of Barbie's mouth and back. So what would you think? Yep, Bubette thought Barbie called her stupid. Well, there's already a personality conflict between the Bubbas and the Bubettes and the Barbies, and they don't even have to say anything to each other. All right? So I told them, I said, okay, y'all get out of here, have a good weekend, or whatever the case may be. And the Bubette ran out of the room. I mean, she was the first one out. And I'm like, well, that was unusual, because all her friends was back here. I thought she had to go to the bathroom or something. That ain't what it was. She was waiting outside the door. That Barbie walked out, and all I saw was a blonde blur go backwards. She clotheslined her, knocked her out when she came out of the room. My whole point of this story is watch what you say when you're in the classroom. Knock the girl out. Knocked her out with one punch. Well, she wasn't expecting. Probably hit her upside the head. She hit the floor. That head bounced. I mean, you ever heard something drop on one of these floors? Well, that's what it sounded like. It was boom. And she was out for about 10 or 15 minutes. The security people came up and got her, shook her around a little bit, and she Of course, they threw the Bubba out, and they really was going to throw her out, but she didn't have anything to do with it. I had to say what happened, but the Barbie wasn't talking about the Bubette. The Barbie was just in her own little world, and the timing was perfect, and because there's no way the Barbie knew what was going on. She was too worried about her compact and like fixing her face, and her sunglasses that she wore inside the building, which is weird. But anyway, watch what you say in class, because it might be taken the wrong way, and you might be blindsided by Bubette, okay, or Bubba. All right, so some people do not like to ask questions in class, and that Ask My Instructor really helps when you don't want to ask a question because you're scared of what somebody might think, or whatever the case may be. And when I get the problem, I pull up the folder. See, these are questions from last semester. And I click on yours, and this is the good thing. I don't have to look up the problem. I just go straight to it. It pulls it right up. There it is. The same problem, doesn't change the numbers or anything, and we go over that problem. Now, any of you that have had me before know that I spend a lot of time going over questions. Now, in the calculus, they don't have this feature on WebAssign, because WebAssign sucks. And I've tried to get them to put it on that they never did listen to me, so I gave up on it. But in your class, I did it. And Miss Simmons, I did it in your class. And there's one other one that's had me, but you had WebAssign. Who else has had me before? Did it in your class, right? So I did it, I do it, and sometimes I spend 30 minutes going over homework questions. Okay, so use it. And use it if you cannot figure out a way to do the homework, okay, or do the homework problem that you're working on. Who's got a question so far? Anybody? Okay, so you go over, help me solve this, view an example, print, and ask the publisher. That's when you have a gripe about the question. Say the question is x plus 2. The answer is x plus 2, and you type in x plus 2, but it says the answer is x minus 3. Well, let me see it first before you ask the publisher. But let's check it and see if it's correct. And if it's correct and it's wrong, then you need to send a message to the publisher and say, something's up with this question. You need to check the answer. Blah, 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 blah. Or ask them a question about it. Am I reading this wrong? Or blah, 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 something like that. Different questions have different, if you go to the next question, let me get out of this. If you go to homework and pull up question there, well, that'll feel good. And go over here, see it don't have the video tutorial. So you got to find one that does. And sometimes I don't have them on every one. They should, every other one at least. But the graphic tutorials on some of them, well, they usually have to have a strip beside it, like a film strip. Oh, well, I guess they didn't do any of them in this section. I thought they did. Maybe the first few they do. No. Oh well, let me go back and see if there's another. This is homework. That was 2.1 I think I went into. Let's do 2.2. They used to put film strips beside the ones that had videos. I don't do that anymore, I guess. Well, you'll find some that has it. I don't know why these don't have it, but they have them. I don't know where I got that one a while ago, but they do have videos on them. I'll have to, there's one. There's the video instead of a computer generated. And see, it's pretty much a teacher doing it on the board instead of a computer generated. Okay? Oh, no. No. Okay, so that's the video. But like I said, they usually do put, let me go ahead and show you one other thing right quick. If you need to review your homework or your test, you do it through Gradebook. Go through Gradebook, and there'll be beside each. I don't have a test, but when you finish a test or you finish a homework, there'll be a link over here, and it'll have an underline under it, meaning that's a link. It'll say review. When you want to print out your homework or your test after you've completed it, then hit that review, and it'll give you the option to print out the test or print out the homework. So that's how you print out the test or print out the homework after you have completed it and after you've been graded on it. Go through Gradebook and click on Review, and then it'll give you an option to print. Okay? So the main three: homework, quizzes and tests, and what? Gradebook. Those are what you need. The Gradebook will keep up. Let me go ahead and show you this. The Gradebook will keep up with everything. And I'll also go in here because they changed. I don't know who does this. I don't. But it should be 20, 0, and 80. And that they're 20% homework. And then we have 4 tests, 5 tests. They'll be 16% each. 16 will be your final, and the rest of your unit test will be 16. Sometimes it comes out to be 20 if you have 3 tests, and final it would be 20, 60, 20, 20. But in this case, it'll be 16. Unit 1, 16. Unit 2, 16. Unit 3, 16. Unit 4, 16. And then the final exam will be 16%. Okay? Questions on Mylabsplus? How about those people that's never seen it before? Does it look like Alex? Yes, no, maybe? Not really? Okay, different places. All right. I asked my instructor, they don't have it. I don't think they do because, They do? Okay. Well, use that in here because that's what I gauge the class by. In other words, if I receive 10 questions on homework on 2.1, then I know I need to go over those questions and maybe do a couple more. If I don't get any questions from 2.1, I'm going to move on to 2.2. Okay? Okay. Question, gripe, complaint. Just for you to see, I want to show you one more thing on Mylabsplus, and that is what the test looks like. And I'll show you also when we review for the Unit 1 test. You can go in here and pull it up, and I'll let you see, because I give questions. Let's see, quizzes and tests. I'm going to bring one in, import. I'll just pick one from there. Next. Yes. I'll bring all of them in. Okay, did you include it or not? Okay, I thought I imported it. Let's see if it looks right. I guess it did. Come on, you can do it. And let me go through Test. Gracious, I sent all. Now see, that's wrong. Look what it did. Sent it 3 times. Okay, I'll have to unassign all those. It's Russia's fault. All Russia's fault. There. Okay, let me do the Unit 1 test. I'll assign it. What's today? Today is the 12th. And it's 12 o'clock. I'll make it for 12 o'clock to 12:30. Now when you go to test, and test, and it should pop up. That's what it looked like. And you click on that. Now, let's see what it gives you. It gives you the due date. It'll give you the time that you have to take the test. And it will give you how many what? Attempts. So don't ask me when a test is due. Don't ask me how many times you got to take it. And don't ask me how much time do you have to take it, because it's all on here. All you got to do is go on there and look. Okay, it'll also be on your calendar. There it is right there. All you got to do is hover over that, and it'll tell you when it's due and when it's available. I don't want anybody, them hammies, they drive you crazy, but I ain't kidding you. When's test due? When's test due? When's test due? When's homework due? It's going to ask you if you want to take the test. Now, some of y'all have kids running around, mother and father running around, the dog and cat running around. Make sure everybody's asleep when you try to do a test. Hang on, glass of wine, or glass of Coke, or whatever the case may be. Make sure you relax. Make sure there's no lightning, thunderstorms outside, or flash flooding, or a transfer truck heading towards your house, or anything like that. And 5 dead grandmothers also. Because if you start it, you're going to have to finish it. You can't stop and say, oh, I'll finish it later. You can't do that. Start test. And I'm just going to show you what the questions look like. There's a question right there, interval notation. What does it do? This is review, I think. There's one of my bonus questions. What does Hubert not entertain during the final weeks of the semester? Or why does Hubert not entertain extra points, extra credit, dropping any grades during the final weeks of the semester? Well, my head hurts because he's mean. Because he wants me to fail and live in a ditch. He awards me extra points for these type questions on tests, and he drops the lowest 2 grades on each unit. Which one is it? Yeah, pretty much. I like A. A would be. I would take A if you put that. I wouldn't take B or C. All right, because I'm not mean. All right. There's a piecewise function, finding the domain and range, and increasing and decreasing values. Does Hubert replace your lowest grade with your final exam grade? What's the only answer that it could be? A. You start to see a pattern. Very easy questions. There's only one answer that really can be. Y'all starting to get it? Yes, Hubert, we're getting it. Thank you, class. Appreciate the interaction. Will Hubert's final exam be online? Yes. This is the #1 most missed bonus question. How is homework, test, and exam weighed? Why is it missed? Because people pick 30, 30, 30. Why is 30, 30, 30 not correct? Duh. When is the week of finals? I will change that, but there's only one correct question. There's only one correct answer, and that is quack. I have to go to the bathroom. December 7th, 1941. C. I'll change that date before the first test. There's another graph function. There's a difference quotient. That's fun. Y'all love these. You have to actually work. When is the last day of class for this semester? My teacher sucks. Monday, April 27th. Judgment Day, September the 11th, 2001. There's a story behind this, I got to tell you. I think it's B. Okay? I actually had a woman come up to me and say, I'm offended. I said, why are you offended? What on my test offended you? Well, I had a brother's cousin's aunt's brother's sister die in September the 11th, and I just don't think it's appropriate to use that date. I said, well, what about December 7th, 1941? And she said, what's that? So after she said, what's that? I kind of disregarded the whole complaint. It's called living in history. It's called a historic date. Good God. Our society, United States of political correctness and pansies. Anyway, Monday, April 27th. I'm offended. I'm offended. Do you know what? I'm 50 years old, and I've never been offended. Never been offended. Because when I was little, my mom and daddy told me sticks and stones and break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And they told me to have confidence in yourself, not to worry about what other people think. I'm offended. I want a trophy. I participated. Anyway, F composed of G. That's another function. Find the domain and range. So you see, the questions are not unbelievably difficult, but there are also 5 to 10 questions in there that are bonuses that come from the syllabi and the handouts. Now, let me explain to you why I did that. I do that in all my classes. And also, I had one class in one Math 110 class, he said that I did it because I was full of myself. Okay, first of all, there's only one question on the bonuses that has anything to do with me, and that's what branch of service was I in. And the reason I did that is we had a mandate from the division chairs and the department heads about 2 years ago that we had to somehow implement our handouts and our syllabus on some kind of assessment. Now, some teachers do it as quizzes. I do it for my online class as a quiz, an attendance quiz. But for my regular classes, I put bonus questions on the test. I don't see why anybody would complain about it, because it's easy what? It's easy points. But as there's a lifelong saying, nothing's free, and there's always one. There's always one person that's going to complain. And that person complained and told my boss that I was full of myself and I was putting all kind of questions on the test about me. Don't you just love it? There's always one. Of course, my department head laughed because she was the one that told me to do that. I said, thanks. Interval notation, function, graph. Where is all of Hubert's homework and tests done? I'd say the kitchen. Another, this is inverse. We'll go over that. This is vertical and horizontal shifts. We'll go over that. What branch? This is the only question about me. Which branch? Do not pick C. Whatever you do not pick C. It's B. All right? I didn't put the Air Force because they don't count. Actually, I didn't know I could put 5 things. I got to fix it. One of these days I'm going to fix it, put Coast Guard and Air Force, but I didn't know I could put 5. The difference quotient, we're going to go over that. Y'all going to hate that before long. Y'all going to hate it. Difference quotient. What is Hubert's email address and cell number? The second most missed. Why is it crazy for it to be the second most missed? It's the only one with a real what? A real phone number. You're going to find out that there's some stupid people in the United States when you go through some of these questions. Okay? I like B myself. 1-800, I'm a loser. Do you know what BR549 is? Only the old people know that. There used to be a show that come on named Hee Haw. And it was a country show with country music and a bunch of country bumpkins. And one guy used to come on there, and he used to be Junior Samples Car Lot. And he would hold up a sign. And back a long time ago, you had phone numbers like that. You didn't have 225 4 blah, blah, blah. You had, and he would say, just call me at my car lot at BR549. And it was real funny at that time. It's what, 60s or 70s? Somewhere in there, 70s, I think. And that's where that comes from. And you can call Get a Date. You can call that 1-800 Get a Date. It'd be something if that was a real number. And 1-800 I'm a loser. You ever seen Demolition Man? Anybody ever seen that movie? Well, when Wesley Snipes breaks out of the prison, he comes up to this phone booth, and there's a guy talking to 1-800 I'm a loser because he's saying, I just feel bad about myself. I don't feel like I exist. and Wesley Snipes says, get out of here! And he just runs off scared. If you ever watched Demolition Man, that's what the United States has turned into. We're all walking around and don't want to offend nobody. What's your boggle? Y'all don't have any idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, go watch Demolition Man. Watch the people in Demolition Man. That's what the United States has turned into. Can't eat salt. Can't eat anything. Can't smoke a cigar. Can't have salt and pepper on your food. And can't offend anybody, huh? Yeah, you can't curse. You have fined 12 credits for using the morality. When does homework terminate? It should terminate, but it don't because I'm so softy. Midnight before what? No. It's D as in Delta. You suck. There's another function. Vertical and horizontal shifts. There's another vertical and horizontal shift, and that's the end of the test. So there's about 10 questions on there that you get right, and look what you can make and not even be cognitive of math. You can make a 39 and not even answer one single math question. Have you ever met anybody that failed my class? Get away from that person because stupid or lazy is going to roll off on you. Okay? All right, who's got questions so far? No questions? You mean I covered stuff so well that y'all don't have any questions? How are y'all coming on getting logged on? I'm sorry, yes, the T has to be a capital or it won't work. Let's see how y'all are doing there. Let's make fun of the people that's not on there. Slackers. I done forgot how many's in here. How many? 11. 11 have added. So let's see how many are in the class so we can make fun of them. Attendance tracker. 110. Thursday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 10 of y'all suck. Y'all are losers and you're going to live in a ditch. All right, Miss McCall. Where's Miss McCall? Not here. Okay, she's a loser. We're going to live in a ditch. Barnes. Barnes is here. Bearden is here. Cherry is in the back. Change the seats on me. Clark. Chris. Where are you? Okay, I thought I knew you when I saw your name. Are you still working there? Weren't you working at Zaxby's? Long time ago. Okay, you're not working there anymore. You tell them to take the job and shove it? Okay, that's what everybody usually does. And driver, where are you? Oh, I'm sorry. I can't. I'm a guy. I can't do two things at one time. Driver, there you go. Okay. Fields, Fisher, Fox, Fuller, Harvell is here. Hull, Kemp, Kraft, Kunkel, Silva, Simmons is here. Strickland is here. Warnick, and Weaver. Okay, so we only missing one person today. And 10 of y'all are going to live in a ditch because y'all can't even get logged on. I don't know who you are. I didn't look. But anyway, your assignment for the weekend is to start working on the intermediate algebra review. And for those 10 people that are losers, you need to get logged on to Mylabsplus. You don't need a course ID. You just need access code. Go to the right place, www.tctc.mylabsplus.com. Yes, sir.
I know where they're getting it from.
Where?
The key card, it's only.
Keep on.
That's why they're saying it.
You're kidding me.
But I'm sure Pearson prints them up for
Generic.
for people who don't.
Well, don't go to that one. Go to tctc.mylabsplus.com. And y'all have a good weekend.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was instructor cover written on his card. So
Well, that's wrong.